Hi there, writers. Welcome back to class. Today, our goal is we are going to learn how to write an awesome hook. We're actually going to learn how to write our entire introduction. But today, I want to talk about the hook or the lead. I think this is kind of a fun, creative part of writing is how do you get your reader interested in what you want them, when you want them to like get sucked into your essay. So I'm going to teach you some cool tricks on how to do this. And then I want you to experiment and play around with different things and try it out. Even if you're like, oh, but Mrs. Smith, I know exactly what I want. I think in writing, it's really important to experiment and try things out because your first idea is not always your best. And it possibly could be the one you choose, but it's really fun actually to try it out. So I want you to have, first of all, that habit of mind that you're going to just try some new things, just like be a risk taker, try some new things. Think of writing as kind of like a fun puzzle that you're putting together. I know for those of you who love writing, this is going to be like good for you. You're going to be fine. Those of you who are like, writing's not really my jam, it is your mindset. You've got to fix that. So if you just change your mindset and you say, you know what, I enjoy math and all the different puzzles and different ways of doing it and trying to solve a problem, take that same approach in writing. I love writing because I'm always challenging myself to figure out how can I make this even more cool, more interesting, more engaging for my reader. So I want you to take that challenge. Raise your right hand and say, I will. I don't hear you. What? I will take on some challenges in writing. Awesome. Okay, let's get into it. So today we're going to focus on our introduction paragraph. And our introduction has three parts. I'm actually going to do three separate videos to teach you all the different parts. I really love this hook part. It's the first sentence. Sometimes it's the first two sentences. Depends on how you write it. Okay, so I'm going to teach you this one today. The second part of the introduction is your background info, and it's kind of like the history of the topic. We'll talk about that later. And then your blueprint thesis, it's like the main idea of what you're proving, and you guys all know how to do that already, but this will be a review. So today we're going to focus right now in this video on the hook. Okay, let me pull out my cool pointer. There we go. So here's an example of my introduction paragraph for my uniforms essay. So there's three parts: the hook, the background info, and then your blueprint thesis. So I'm going to show you how to do all this, okay? I apologize for my mouse. It is super sensitive. The hook is right here in blue. The background info is in purple. The thesis is in red. I'm going to read this first part. Do you believe in your basic right to freedom of expression? Many students are able to freely express themselves through their clothing. Unfortunately, students today are having to give up that right by being required to wear school uniforms. So that is my hook, okay? The first recorded use of standardized uniforms in education may have been in England in 1222. Researchers have found out more and more schools are beginning to require uniforms. Traditionally favored by private and parochial or church institutions, school uniforms are being adopted by U.S. public schools in increasing numbers. That is the background info of my introduction. It kind of gave a little background history for the reader. And then the last part, uniforms should not be required for the following reasons. Researchers have found no positive effect on academics. It limits students' freedom of expression, and uniforms can be very expensive. So today we're just going to focus right now on that lead or the hook. So I want to show you this. These are the different types of hooks and leads that writers can try out. These are not all the hooks in the world, but these are some famous or popular ones, I should say. So you can try out a rhetorical question with an answer. A rhetorical question is like a thinking question that you want the reader to think about, but they're not answering out loud. They're probably answering it in their head. Now, you could try it with just the question, or you could try writing the question and then giving the reader the answer too. starting off with something really shocking. And it doesn't always have to be a statistic. A statistic is like a percentage or a strong number fact or a fraction or a large number, but it doesn't always have to be a statistic. What if it's just a shocking piece of information, which is kind of like an interesting fact? Okay. Because that'll suck that reader right in. Another cool one to try is setting the scene, like having some description at the beginning that gets them in that mood or that feeling. Sharing a secret's another one. You could start with, "Did you know?" Kind of like that. Or, "Not many people know, but I'm going to tell you about," kind of like that. A powerful quote from a famous person that is related to your topic would be awesome. And when I say famous person, it's like an expert. It doesn't have to be like a celebrity. An expert could be like a professor or um, a doctor or something like that. Okay, so let's try. Oopsie. Let's try it out. Okay, so I want to show you a couple that I tried out for my topic on uniforms, and then I'm going to let you try it. So there were all these different ones, and I chose a couple that I said I'm going to just try it, and that's what I want you to do. Is don't go, "Oh, I already know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do this one." And then that's all you do. Your job is to be a trier, a risk taker, experiment. Okay, that's what writing's all about. So I tried rhetorical questions, setting the scene, and shocking statistic. I want you to look through these and read them with me. Okay. Do you believe in your basic right to freedom of expression? Many students are able to freely express themselves through their clothing. Unfortunately, students today are having to give up that right by being required to wear school uniforms. So, my question is, do you believe in your basic right to freedom? Now, this question is really important because, of course, everyone's going to say yes. No one's going to say, no, I don't want my freedom. So when you write your question, make sure it's a strong one and it's not just like, "Do you like uniforms?" Okay. Try to go a little bit deeper and make them think a little bit more. Now, setting the scene is a fun one to write. And it's kind of like using your description skills and your writing skills to like imagery and something cool like that to write a really cool hook. So here's mine. Imagine walking into a school where everyone is wearing a starched white shirt, blue cotton pants, and looking exactly the same. The classrooms are filled with sights of students who are dressed in boring uniforms day after day and with no sense of personal style. That is really kind of interesting because if the reader were to close their eyes and visualize that scene, you have set them up for that mood of like, ugh, I don't want a place that's kind of boring like that. So think about your topic and how could you set a scene for it? Okay. You could start with imagine. You don't have to start with imagine. You could just start describing some things. But also notice, I apologize about my mouse. Also, I want you to notice one other thing. I did sneak in some strong words that showed how I feel about it. See if you can figure it out. One word is starched. Starch kind of shows that icky feeling that starch means stiff, when your shirt is like super stiff. So starched is a word that I threw in there because I knew it was not going to be like a fun word. Another word I used, boring, boring. So, and no sense of personal style. So, sneak in those words that kind of hint at what you're thinking too, if you can. Otherwise, writing a beautiful scene like that will be really good as long as the reader walks away feeling that mood that you want them to feel. All right, the last one is a shocking statistic. So it says, according to the National Center for Education Statistics, nearly 20% of all public schools have adopted uniform mandates. Mandates are like rules. Okay. So that's just a surprising number that, wow, 20% of schools have already said that kids need to wear uniforms. That's amazing or shocking. I need to read more. All right. So now another thing I want to teach you is that instead of just picking one, sometimes if you are thinking about it and your just brain just naturally goes there, you might have accidentally written two together. That's a hybrid hook. Okay. So you could always experiment and try writing a hybrid hook. That means you're combining a couple of different ideas, like you're combining a couple of these together, and then you're creating your own hook. Now, here's the deal. Your hook should not be super long. It's a hook for a reason because it's supposed to just suck you in very quickly and then you have to move on to your point. So I would say your hook should not be more than three sentences. One sentence is fine if it's strong. Two sentences is really like a great number. Three is okay, but I think if it's four or more, you're kind of it's if that's too much. We don't want to spend that much time on our hook in the introduction because your introduction is really short anyway. All right. So I'm going to show you what you're doing now because it's your turn. So in your writer's notebook or your Google Doc notes sheet, your online notebook, I want you to try out three different hooks for your topic. And now, if you're asking me, Mrs. Mathai, I already know which one, don't do that. As a writer, I do this is required. You must try out three before you choose one. Now, you can keep looking back at the different mentor text essays that I linked. Remember all the student essays that I linked for you? They're in the slides. And if you go to my table of contents, you can see the chocolate milk essays and the examples that I gave you. Then you're going to choose your best one to make a hybrid hook. Okay. Or make a hybrid hook. Sorry. So I'm going to show you where your online writer's notebook is. This was from a while ago, so you should know where to go. But in case you forgot, you're going to your classwork and you're going to go to the April 13th remote learning. Click on opinion writing unit, and your notebook is right there. And it looks like this. So the lesson is right here in green. It says introduction with hooks / leads. So a lead is the same as a hook, okay? So it says try out three different hooks that you've learned for your topic here. Then the next step, some of you are forgetting the second step set of directions, so make sure you read them all. Highlight your best one that you are going to use. So right here, tell me what your topic is, and then tell me what are the three hooks you want to try, and then just try them out right there. And then don't forget to highlight your favorite one that you want to use for your essay. All right. Good luck, everyone. Can't wait to read them.